to hear you guys tonight. You're going to hear the 757 House Whisperer show tonight. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. This is Chuck Worley with Worley's Home Services, the founder of the 757 House Whisperer show. I am here by myself tonight. I figured I'd give all the other hosts Happy Turkey Day early off. So everybody is enjoying their family tonight. So it's just me here by myself tonight. So don't make me feel lonely. Call in 627-7979. This is the 757 House Whisperer show. I'm going to talk to y'all and tell y'all about all our sponsors and co-hosts for the show. But I am here. I created this show, my brainchild, with Miss Marilyn Crump, was really to help people in the 757. I've been on and off the radio since, early 2000s. Damien was probably, I think he was like 7 or 14, something like that when I started. The normal DJ of the night with us. So we've been on, and I've been on and off the radio on several shows. Ask the Expert, the old manufacturer used to have a show called Ask the Expert with the manufacturer that brought it on, and they bring on their best contractors. And then I started a show with House Pros, Home Pros. That's what it was. 757 Home Pros, and it had good friends of mine. Keith Bales, who, if y'all are old radio people, you will remember Keith Bales. He was my best friend. He is just an amazing guy. He was a building science geek and taught me everything I know about building science. I've added a few things in the last 20 years, but he was the guy that helped me the most, understanding houses and crawl spaces and attics and how all these systems all go together, you know. And then Jim Hicks, Pete Johnson, and Keith Bales and Chuck Worley. So we had the Home Pros show for a couple years, and then Keith passed away, I believe, in 2012. So we kind of, he was the catalyst really for our show, and we kind of backed off the show then. So that in the back of my mind, trying to figure out how we could go back to helping homeowners in the 757 learn about their houses. Fixing houses is what I love to do. I call myself a building science geek. There's not much about a house that I can't figure out. I don't like to think that I'm an expert in everything, so I started bringing on co-hosts for the show so that we could have specialists. We could have a roofing specialist. We could have a window guy. We could have all these specialists so when you guys call in, it's just not my opinion. It's backed up by specialists in our local area. In fact, names of companies that you will recognize. So I want to remind you guys, we're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. Go to 757 House Whisperer. You will see us. I'm on my personal Facebook Live today, so you can hear us on that. If you get done driving the radio, you can pop on Facebook and see us. But ask questions, text messages, text questions. The phone number is 955-9415 for the 757 House Whisperer. If you're too shy to call in, definitely text me, text the y'all are not that fine-tuned yet. You can't text the radio, but you can text 955-9415. You can hit me on Facebook. You can text me on Facebook. I should see it. And, of course, thank you, Michael, helping me out tonight. 627-7979. Please call in and ask questions about your house and problems you're having with your house. And I mean everything. In fact, let me go over our co-hosts and kind of tell you the things that we are specialists on fixing. We have Justin Murphy with Pyramid Roofing, Michael Davenport, CVP, Custom Vinyl Windows and Doors. Mike and I have been friends for over 30 years. Character, integrity guy. He's just a fantastic guy. Albin, remodeling, new additions, remodeling, bathrooms, kitchens, whatever you want. So he can do it all. Very, very, very smart guy. Now, because I'm a contractor, I have relationships with hundreds of contractors, and I chose Albin to do my own house. So now, of course, he's got amazing heating and air, electrical, and plumbing guys working on this project at my house. That would be Worley's Home Services, right? So that kind of telling you about us. We do crawl space encapsulations, insulation, spray foam, heating and air conditioning, ductwork, electrical, and plumbing. So we have Miss Cindy Rawl with Alpha Pest Solutions. I will tell you, Cindy is the only woman that I know with a license to kill. That is bugs, but she has a license to kill. So call her. She will give you free inspections underneath the house. I will tell you something else that she needs is she needs help. She is 62 years old, crawling underneath houses, not scared to help people in pest control situations. But I do know that she is really looking for some help. You have nephews, daughters, sons, whatever, that want to get into the trades. Definitely call the show, 955-9415. Text her, Alpha Pest Solutions, Facebook, and of course online. Reach out to her if you want to try and help somebody get into the trades. She will train them. And then my buddy Jack Keller, Legacy Painting, who is growing like crazy. He's actually just getting ready to rent his first space in his commercial space. He's doing great. Really proud of him. 5-6 employees, growing his business, trying to bust $1 million in revenue, and doing a great job. All these guys are personal friends of mine that I've known for years, that I trust, that will do a great job. I will remind you, houses talk to me. 627-7979. I'm the founder of the 757 House Whisperer Show. Please call in. The reason that we exist is to help people with their houses. Everybody knows Homes on Homes, HGTV type thing. We are the kind of Homes on Homes 757 radio show. I like to feel like the show is more of a public service announcement, public service helping people fix their houses. It is a lot of fun for us. And like I was telling Mike a couple weeks ago, we were on the show together. We have we have been helping people one person at a time for the last 30 plus years. And now I have the opportunity, when you call in and ask these questions, right? 627-7979. When you guys call in and ask these questions, it's great because I'm answering the questions and helping you, but I'm also helping hundreds and maybe possibly thousands of homeowners with problems in their own house, which I just think is great. It's able to help more people. So we do have a caller. I want to remind you again, we do have some trivia questions. We're going to go to, Joe in a few minutes. I do want to tell you all, because of the holiday season, here's the trivia. What president proclaimed November 26th as a National Thanksgiving Day? What president actually did that? It was the fourth Thursday of every November. Made it a National Thanksgiving Day. What president did that? I almost slipped and said his name. Why do you eat turkey for Thanksgiving? I thought this was some great trivia. Do you know? Okay. The Mike's being quiet over here. Why do you eat turkey on Thanksgiving? I thought was a fantastic trivia question. And here's a really, really crazy track. So we're all talking about turkey and Thanksgiving. Why don't we eat turkey eggs? Just in general. Like, why don't we eat turkey eggs?
I've never thought of that one.
Me either. Like, because they're bigger. You think it would be, So anyway, I thought this was a crazy trivia question. Why don't we eat turkey eggs? I don't think anybody's going to get that. I think that one's the hardest one. Unless y'all cheat and GTS. Google that stuff, right? So, hey, let's go to our first caller. Again, 627-7979. Call in with any questions about your house. We do have a coffee. We give you all a coffee gift card if you call in and answer the trivia questions. And we also call in about any questions about your house. Let's go ahead and go.
Hi, Joe, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Joe. Looks like you got a question for us over in Chesapeake.
Sir.
Go ahead.
I live out in the Hickory section, and mice are always a problem out here. And I've made several trips underneath the house trying to seal off every crack with some filler everywhere I could find, and still seem to be having problems and getting into my HVAC. So I'm just trying to figure out whether or not it's going to be worth it to put encapsulation in there to keep the mice out.
Okay. Well, do you have insulation under your house too?
No, pulled all that stuff out. That's all been pulled out. I had new HVAC lines put in as far as the vents themselves and everything, and all that. And then the mice are starting to get in there again, so I'm afraid they're going to tear it up again after I've had new ones put in.
All right. Well, obviously we have Cindy as one of our co-hosts, and she will give you a free inspection underneath the house. And I can hook you up with that and get her to take a look at it to kind of help you even getting rid of them. I mean, the best way is to, lay under there with a 22 and a scope and just pop them off as they come in. But I'm just kidding. So you want to make it difficult for them. You've already done a great job getting the insulation out from underneath the house. I have been saying for 20 plus years about crawl spaces. Why do you have insulation under your house? Bat insulation, because it is just literally the Holiday Inn for animals. I mean, it's just
sure.
it's the dumb. And you probably feel the same way because you already pulled it all out. But I just feel like, why would you put the Holiday Inn underneath the house? I mean, if you don't pay rent in my house, you got to leave. You can't stay. And all these animals living for free under my house. The other thing it does is, of course, snakes. I mean, every animal loves insulation.
Sure.
So the encapsulation is going to dry out the crawl space, which moisture, liquid, obviously, animals like moisture. If there's water under there, there's puddles under there. That's just, more reason for them to be under there. The thicker you make the walls, the more difficult it's going to be. But I will tell you this, a rat, a mouse can get anywhere it wants. And it will slow them down. Putting lights under there, obviously you'll be able to see what's going on. You'll be able to see.
I already did that. I already ran. I've got string lights everywhere underneath there as well.
Man, I'm going to have to hire you and see if you can do that work for me. Huh?
Actually,
you say you're just doing your house. You're not helping anybody else. I see how you are.
At a time when somebody very well, Jake Gildersleeve.
Yes, I love Jake.
Yeah.
I love Jake.
So we did that when they redid my HVAC underneath there, when they put a new well and a new geothermal system in my house. So.
Well, that was a great decision. There is no more geothermal knowledge, I believe, on the planet, but at least in the 757, than what's in between Jake's brain or two ears. Yep. That is the most smartest guy that I've ever met in geothermal. He is a legend. His dad, I mean, the whole family. So so I compliment you on your decision, and I compliment you hopefully for staying with Worley's and Gildersleeve, because we have combined and we just merged a couple weeks ago. And, I guess a couple months ago now. And now we have more capacity. The biggest problem that Gildersleeve had was enough people. And Jake is just like, hey, I need help with this. Bang, he's got two guys. Hey, I need help with this. Bang, he's got two guys on the job site. He had 5 or 6 guys on a job site, 2 guys changing out the equipment, had him on the rig, which we are trying to remedy that because Jake is not 70, but he's a sneeze away from it, right? So we're trying to get all that knowledge out of his head and into my guys, and he is doing a great job. The guys love him. He's so knowledgeable teaching these younger guys. And when I say younger, I mean anywhere from 25 to 45, just trying to get all that knowledge out of his head so we can get his butt off a rig, because we are not trying to, I mean, he loves it, but I mean, he's kicking 70. So we do not want him on that rig much longer. So we're trying to get all that knowledge out of him, and he's training my guys. But the biggest thing, the benefit to us is we can do twice as much revenue, twice as much stuff with the more guys, because trying to run a rig, you can't answer the phone all day. You're trying to, help people in the office. You're trying to answer phones. Like, it's ridiculous, him trying to run the company too. So now he can focus more. He can focus on training. He can focus on teaching. And we are now, with his sales and our sales together, we are the largest geothermal company in Hampton Roads. And it's and I will say the best just because he's here, not because of me. I mean, I have knowledge of it, right? I am good at geothermal, but adding him to our team, I kind of feel like Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. We had a good team, and then this guy slacker from New England decided to go down to Florida and join our team, right? So I kind of feel like the Tampa Bay Bucks right now. We just got Tom Brady, so it's and I'm very flattered that he chose us, and because he could have sold to anybody, and he chose our company. My son's 30, so we got a generation thing. Both his kids were out of the business and ready to move on to bigger and better things. So he sees I got legacy. I got my son in the business. So it's a great thing that happened for us and for him. So, but thank you for mentioning his name. I do love me some Jake. I thought we have to break it to 6:30. Is that okay? Okay, so we're going to break at 6:30. So we got a few more minutes. Kind of going back, the encapsulation, I never want anybody to say, Chuck Worley said if I encapsulate it, I'll never have another rat in the house or another mouse, right? So you're in Hickory. More than likely, most of my customers in Hickory got big fields. And with big fields, you got big, field mice. So what we have to do is slow them down. I mean, so I'd going back to rats and mice. I grew up in Norfolk, went to Norfolk Catholic. I grew up in Norfolk. So I actually saw a rat eat through a chimney. So he actually made a ledge on the chimney about halfway up the chimney. He climbed up the chimney and chewed out the bottom part of a block, of a chimney block, chewed out the bottom part so he could lay on the brick below it, because there was heat coming out of it. Now, he didn't know
Got it.
So, I mean, they can chew through anything. So I never want to say, oh, yeah, you spend a lot of money and get an encapsulation. That's not the answer. But encapsulation is never a bad thing. It sounds like you got lights under there, but you can put foam board on the sidewalls. We can run the poly up. You'll be able to see if you have problems under there. You're going to have to probably put, rat traps under there after we encapsulate. But the reason I like the encapsulation is because you can see the evidence and see where they're hanging out. And you know what I mean? I mean, you'll see pee, you'll see evidence of where they're hanging out at. So you can kind of put bait boxes there. If it's just dirt and poly, it's just not a clean space. It's just a lot easier to find the problem in an encapsulation. So
absolutely, I understand.
But like I said, I had a guy tell me, "Man, you did this encapsulation. You said I'd never have animals under the house." I'm like, "No, I did not say that, right?" But because I say the same thing, right, to almost every job, right? It's a little bit different here and there, but I will tell you this: when I was personally doing happy checks after we do installations, I personally would come back and look at the jobs. Now we've gotten a little bit bigger than that, so now I have QA guys to go and do it, and it's my older guys that I got doing the QAs because they can't, their pace is slowed down like me. So, but I want to use that brain and that knowledge, kind of like what we're doing with Jake is, use the brains of us older guys and get it into these 30-year-olds, right? So these guys come back, find problems, check it off. They're taking pictures. They're going back to, we have installation management meetings where all the guys come in, we take pictures, and we're like, this is not our standard. This is industry standard. This is not our standard. We need to have it done correctly, right? So these guys go back and check that out. But when I was personally doing happy checks, on several occasions, I came back and we had sealed up the crawl space and found mice and rats dead in the crawl space. So I'm not saying that you're never going to have one in there, but they couldn't get back out the same way they got in. And maybe it was just a dumb rat that I found, but I had to help him. I had to get a shovel and help him and get the mice. He's like, you're not going to leave that in there. It stinks. I was like, all right, let me help you get it out. So we got a little shovel and got it out of there. But it does make it more complicated for him to get in. That's all you can do is slow him down. And then, of course, please call Cindy. She will 955-9415. You can text me, and I'll get you to her. And leave your information with our people on the radio show, and we'll make sure we get somebody out there. But yeah, hey, great call, man. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you mentioning Gildersleeve, and I definitely appreciate you mentioning geothermal, because it is. What's your electric bill, man? Tell these people why geothermal is great.
I would say that right after geothermal went in, the bill probably dropped at least 25%.
That's
at
fantastic.
Maybe even more, because I knew the rates were going up. So I would say on average a year, I've got a little over 3,000 square foot house with 2 units running, and everything's electric. And I would say on average, I'm about $270 a month. Compared to where I was in the high 3s to 4, and one year I had $500 electric bill.
Yeah, which probably caused you to go geothermal. One thing that we can add to it, if it doesn't matter how efficient the furnace or the heat pump is getting the heat into the house, if you do not have spray foam and insulation up in your attic, I promise you it will drop another 20-25%. if you do that, because all the heat is leaving your house, all this efficient heat you're putting in your house, spray foaming, and we do attic retrofits. And I would say if you really want to maximize that geothermal, let's insulate and spray foam that house and make it as energy efficient as possible.
Yeah. I don't have the spray foam, but I mean, I've got the loose insulation, all the way up to the.
Have one of my guys come out and take a look. We got to get to our quick break. Thank you for the call, man. It was a great call. Hey, guys, this is Chuck Worley with Worley's Home Services, the founder of the 757 House Whisperers show. At Worley's, we do heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulation, spray foam insulation, anything you need. Houses talk to me. I'm a building science geek, and I love fixing houses. I've been fixing houses since, in the 90s, but 2001, I opened up my first company and really started getting into just kind of the whole house as a system. I want to introduce my guest, Justin Murphy with Pyramid Roofing, Michael Davenport with CVP Custom Vinyl Products, Windows and Doors, Albin with Albin Co., does all remodeling, kitchens, bathrooms, additions, Miss Cindy Rawl, Alpha Pest Solution, and Jack Keller with Legacy Painting. So those are our sponsors for the show, co-hosts for the show. And I want you guys to know, I want you to call in 757-627-7979. 7979. Try and stump me. Call in, ask any questions about anything going on in your house. Our goal, the reason we created this show, was to help people fix their houses. We are not a nationally syndicated show. We are focused on our area in the 757. You are extremely blessed to have a lot of knowledge, not tonight because it's just me, but there's a lot of knowledge on this panel, typically that you could call in and ask any questions about any products and services about fixing houses. Remember, I kind of make the show kind of like Homes on Homes. Fixing houses is what we do best. I'm going to remind you guys of the trivia questions. That is, what president proclaimed November 26th, the fourth Thursday of November, National Thanksgiving Day? What president? Why do we eat turkey for Thanksgiving? I thought this was a crazy trivia question, and I would have never guessed that. If you'd have given me $1 million, I never would have guessed this answer. And the third one is, why don't we eat turkey eggs at all, ever, all during the course of the year? I'm not talking about for Thanksgiving, but I was looking stuff for turkeys, and this came up, and I just thought it was hysterical. Why we actually don't eat turkey eggs. So we have a caller. So I'm going to remind you again, 627-7979. If you call in to ask a trivia question or you call in to ask anything about your house, you will get a gift card from us thanking you for supporting our show. Thank you for calling in. And we have
Matt in Newport News.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for calling in on this happy Thanksgiving Eve.
Well, we thank you for having the show, and I know that you have a lot of business because houses get old and they talk.
They do talk. Some of them talk too much, Matt.
So here's a couple, two questions I have for you. One is, I have a 4-bedroom townhouse. What is the expected lifespan of an HVAC system in your house? And I have an upstairs. The second question, I have a problem with the upstairs heat pump and the outside unit freezing over and not working. And can you explain to me what's happening when that goes on, and how long is a HVAC system supposed to last?
All right, the first one is the easiest one. The average across the nation is 12 years. That's the average. Now, I have had one that worked for 19 and a half years. It was actually a 16-SEER high-efficiency unit. It was the highest efficient rated unit back in 2000 when I put it in, 2001. And I actually have two of those units that two friends of mine have that are still running. So when you take care of them, you're doing maintenance, you can get more years out of them. But unfortunately, sometimes these repairs get so stupidly expensive, it just makes sense to replace them. So average, I would say, is 12 years. I would not be putting any major money into a unit after 12 years. So that's the easy one, right? And I mean, that's not to say there are some cheaper brands out there, which I won't go into all that, but I've seen some be replaced at 8 years because they lost a coil, they lost a compressor, they lost another coil, and that people just throw their hands up and say, I'm done, right? So 8, 12, I've seen them 15 plus, but I would say 12 is about the average. The second question is, what is happening when my outdoor unit freezes up? I would tell you, Matt, that is a fantastic question. I'm going to help you with this, but I promise you I'm helping hundreds and hundreds of people listening with the same question, because who wouldn't have that question? You walk past an air conditioner and you're like, is that ice on my unit? You know, I'll drive down the road and I'll see like half of a coil froze up, which that is a problem, right? So what's happening is air conditioners, heat pumps are air conditioners running backwards, all right? So there's a reversing valve, which I'll get into technical, which reverses the refrigerant in the air conditioner. So we're actually pulling outdoor air, heat out of the outdoor air and putting it indoors. Now, you say, well, man, it's 20 degrees outside. That's cold air. we are still able at that temperature to pull heat out of the outside air. Now, we also have backup heat, which is the electric strips and why your utility bills go up when it's 20 degrees, because we do need backup heat because there's not a lot of heat when it's 20, 30 degrees outside, right? So the reason for it is so what happens is when that happens, it's cold, that condenser is cold, and now we're 20 degrees outside plus the refrigerant is cold, so it's causing that outdoor coil to freeze up. So what happens is it goes into defrost mode, which is actually putting the heat pump back into air conditioning mode and causing the coil to melt. So,
but I've got everything off upstairs.
Whoops. Hello?
Yeah, that's us. We live together. We're trying to figure it out.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, Matt, I thought you threw your voice. I thought you fell down and hurt yourself.
I was just wanting to make sure that it's hurting that I don't have the heat on. I've got the system off upstairs. Is that making the problem?
So you have one system or two?
Two.
You have an upstairs unit and a downstairs unit?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so are we talking about the upstairs unit or the downstairs unit?
The downstairs unit is the one that freezes over. The upstairs is a heat pump.
Okay, so if the downstairs unit is freezing up, it's because that's a heat pump too. So do you have gas?
Located outside.
Do you have gas in the house?
No.
Well, do you have a gas furnace?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, if the downstairs unit is freezing up, it's telling me that you have probably what's called a dual fuel system, which, by the way, is a fantastic system. You can use the heat pump, but typically once it gets below 38, 40 degrees, the heat pump cuts out and the gas furnace comes on. Okay. So if and it doesn't matter if let's just pretend it's the upstairs unit because we know that's a heat pump. If the upstairs unit is freezing up, nothing is wrong. It's doing its job. What's happening is it's going into defrost, which is actually putting your heat pump for a few minutes. It's putting your heat pump into air conditioning mode, which is melting the ice on your outdoor coil, and then it will kick back to heating mode, right? And when it does that, your electric heat will help you not get blasted with cold air when it's in air conditioning cycle. So it doesn't do it for very long. It just does it long enough to melt all the coil, the outdoor coil. That's literally the reason why it's going into air conditioning.
And then why does it freeze? Why does it get cold and freeze up?
Because, all right, so the outdoor coil is cold. The Freon is cold out there. So you have Freon that's cold out there, and it's cold out there, right? It's 20 degrees or whatever the temperature is outside. So the air conditioning during the summertime, what's the temp? When you walk past your condenser in the summertime, what do you feel coming out the top of your air conditioner? Heat. Yeah, it's heat. Remember, you walk by it. That's actually how you could kind of tell if your air conditioner is even working. You walk past and you feel heat being pulled off that air conditioner, right? So during the summertime, which let's fast forward to the wintertime, that's melting the ice on your outdoor unit. So remember I told you a heat pump is an air conditioner running backwards, right? So if it's hot during the summer, what's it going to be during the winter? It's going to be cold. So we're reversing the refrigerant cycle. So now the outdoor unit is cold and the indoor unit is warm because we want that heat inside the house. The problem, it's typically not going to happen at 40, 50 degrees as much, but when it starts getting down in the 30s and 40s, 30s, and 20s, that outdoor unit is going to get super cold and it's going to freeze up.
Okay.
All right. So it's doing its job. It's working. I don't want you thinking, oh, my system's not working. It is working. And in fact, like I said, if you do in fact have a heat pump downstairs, that is the most efficient heating system on the planet, minus geothermal. Geothermal is more efficient. But if you have a gas furnace and a heat pump, the heat pump heats, it's 60, 50 degrees outside. You really just need to heat the bump, right? Then the heat comes on. It's 50 degrees outside. That gas furnace has no right to come on. It's not really cool enough for that furnace to be running at full capacity. So the heat pump comes on, knocks the chill off the house, cuts off. And the heat pump is cheaper to operate than the gas. So now, when it gets to 30, who cares about efficiency? I want heat, right? So the gas furnace comes on.
Okay, so here's the $1 million question. My unit's at 20 years old now, so what would be the best unit to put into the house now?
I want you to go out to that heat pump, and I want you to slap her on the butt and say, baby, thank you. You have served me well. You have served me well. Thank you, baby. I appreciate you not leaving me. So, yes, I would definitely, what you don't want to do is wait to the last minute. That's how these franchises make so much money. They wait. People wait to the last minute, and the system breaks, and then they slap in a new unit, and they get you to put this cheap unit in, and 5-7 years from now, you're going to be replacing it again. So call us out. I'm sure we got your information. We will come out, no pressure, give you an estimate. This is what you need. I use the Ruud product, RUUD, and we use American Standard, which has been around for forever and ever. So American Standard and the Ruud products are the two systems that we use. And we can get any product. These are just the systems that we are using for. Thank you, Mike. So any other questions that I can answer? Those were great questions, and I want to thank you again for calling in, because not only was I able to help you guys, there are other people with that same question. I'd go down the road all the time, and because I'm a heating and air guy. I got my fiance looking at ductwork now. We're in a restaurant. She looks up. She's like, why am I looking at ductwork? I have no idea what I'm looking at. But now I got her looking at air conditioners when we're driving down the road, So we're driving down the road. You'll see units just frozen up, and people think that they're not working properly. They are. Now, I have seen one, actually I saw it last year, that half the coil was frozen, and it stayed that way. Half the coil froze and then melted and then came back and froze half the coil. That is probably a restriction in the Freon system, and that's an issue and will need to be addressed. But no, absolutely great question. Thank you, Matt, and yeah, thank you all for calling in. I appreciate it. So
thanks a lot. Thank you.
Let's see. Did you have any answers for the trivia? Oh, he's gone. Okay. Let's do.
Pietro
in Norfolk. You got a vent question.
Sir.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I live in a 1950s brick home, and the house, when it was built, has the standard foundation vents. When we bought the home, we put a polyethylene layer down, for the crawl space. And my question is about these vents, and we could tell that the previous owner must have had something blown into the walls. So I don't know if it was this balloon kind of framing, but somebody was saying that we needed to keep the vents open in the summer and in the winter to close them. And I'm going, okay. When we added air conditioning to the home, we ran the ductwork through the flooring. And so my question is, now that ductwork is there, we were thinking of permanently sealing the brick vents up so that they would never, open or close anymore. Is that a wise thing to do?
That is a great question. And again, you're helping other people by making this phone call. I appreciate you calling in. So are you talking about an encapsulation, or are you that's like permitted and done properly through the state of Virginia, or are you talking about just covering up vents?
At the moment, we're just looking at covering up vents. We may come back, and we're looking at these. They're like a vinyl closure. We would paint it to match the foundation. That way, we just don't have to open and close anymore. So I'm one of those older guys. I'm over 70, and I'm thinking, every year trying to put these aluminum things over the covers. I don't think they do much, but it stops some of the airflow. But
yeah, let me. I only have a few minutes to kind of get through this. We're getting ready to the end of the show. So you're the last caller. Thank you for calling in. That is a great question. I would not recommend just covering vents, because what you're going to do in the summertime, there's going to be moisture under there. It's not going to have the air bypass air that the house was designed to have. Now that we're in Virginia, there's more humidity. Closing up the vents during the wintertime is extremely smart, so stuff doesn't freeze up underneath the house. I'm going to kind of whip through a lot of this. There's a lot more things that I can call you back after the show and answer. But you have, please block the vents during the wintertime. That's the biggest thing I want to get out of this. I strongly recommend an encapsulation because then we are insulating the sidewalls. We never have to worry about cold air getting in again. We don't have to worry about hot air infiltrating into the crawl during the summer. We don't have to worry about sweat. We don't have to worry about the balloon framing, because you're not going to have cold air then going up the sidewalls. There's so much negative stuff, but by encapsulating, you will be able to fix all of that. The other things, how much time do we have left? It's 1 minute. So thank you for calling in. I appreciate that. I do want to get to my 3 trivia questions that nobody tried to answer, which I thought were really easy. Abraham Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln, declared on October 3rd, 1863, the fourth Thursday of every November will be Thanksgiving. Why do we eat turkey for Thanksgiving? Turkey's spot on the holiday table has been traced back to the famous American author Sarah Josepha, which is interesting, Josepha Hale, her popular book, which described the traditional Thanksgiving meal that included roast turkey and stuffing. The last question, 30 seconds. Why don't we eat turkey? Follow the money. Always follow the money, because we don't want eggs that virtually will cost $3 for an egg. So the farmers opt to raise turkeys for the meat rather than eggs. They use their hens for producing more turkeys for consumption. Follow the money every time. Hey, this is Chuck Worley. Thank you for calling in.
The preceding program was sponsored and paid for by Worley Home Services, who's entirely responsible for its content.